Hello everybody. Today we are going to be going over Sekiro Part 1, which Part 1 will consist of the beginning of the tutorial to right before we start the memory. And the main purpose of this tutorial is to try and make your life easier with the game. However, with this Part 1, we'll be focusing on combat basics, such as guarding versus deflection, perilous attacks, and how to respond to them, as well as just like basic hitting and deflecting and things of that nature. One of the more important things for you to know is to jump, because we'll be using that a lot in combat. And yeah, just in general, this, as I said, this is to make it easy. And so if you are starting with the tutorial here, we're going to start off by actually just like walking, and then you'll just jump across. Make sure to double tap the X button, otherwise you will go a little bit slower. You'll go through these guys, pop down here, and then this should look familiar at this point if you know you're having a hard time with the tutorial. And there you go. We are now halfway through the tutorial. So just walk a little bit. Once they get your attention, if I could talk, that would be better. Once they see you, then you start jumping. If you jump too early, they can actually just snipe you right in the air. And that's no good. So you'll also want to talk to Kuro right afterward.
Loyal, I see you. It is this you.
You get a healing gourd.
Do you know? No, right? There's this Lord. I want you. You know, I will.
I won't really be giving over story stuff. However, if you want, there actually is a pretty amazing story to go with this game. So I just equipped the healing gourd. Obviously, we'll equip other quick items as we go along. Now, combat basics. There are two ways to kill people. Well, three ways, I should say. One, you deplete their vitality. Two, you build up their posture and do a death blow. And three, you sneak up on them, do a death blow. The normal enemies, you'll be able to just kill with a single death blow. More powerful enemies will require a second and potentially even a third. So, to attack, you click R1, and then to guard, you click L1. The difference between guarding and deflecting is if you perfectly time the guard. And so I'll show you the difference. One of the main things to recognize is the difference in sparks, so then you know which one you got. And so right here, he'll hit you. Really basic spark, right? Nothing too flashy. But then, really flashy ones, that's a deflect, and as you saw, it built up his posture when he attacked me. We'll get a little more practice on there. Clicking R3, the right joystick is how you lock on. And then remember that sneaking is a very important part of this game, at least in the beginning. So normally you only want to fight one at a time. And so if you're not moving, you'll definitely want to be guarding. We'll practice that. We'll show the difference a couple more times. And so he'll come in for the attack. Deflect. I'm hoping that you're able to see the difference there, because if you're just sitting here guarding. Another important thing to recognize is that you can sit in like this, and you can still deflect them. It looks kind of weird, but I just call it blade dancing, just because you're getting ready to deflect them. And so there's that. So with those two, you focus on the defense, you let them come to you, deflect, and kill. For these guys, will make your life easy by coming up here first, jumping, death blow. So it's kind of okay to spam L1. Don't do it too often because it does make it slightly more difficult to pull off the deflect, but you know, there's also no harm in that because you will guard, and guarding is a very important thing. So now that we're about to fight this first mini-boss, which you actually don't have to fight him, but I'm going to just because, as I said, these are the main mini-bosses you'll be fighting. So we're going to heal up with the healing gourd and come in against leader Shigenori Yamauchi. And so just like this said, when you deflect, after you click R1, it'll be counter slash, which is a quicker way to respond. And so when you deflect, you get a quicker response time. So you'll be in guard, deflect. And so it's definitely important to watch out for his patterns. So like when he goes up for a strike, you want to make sure that you are guarding. Another quick thing to notice is your own posture will decline quicker if you are in a guard stance. So you see how what I'm kind of doing there is alternating between attacking and deflecting. And so you gotta watch out for what they're going to do, just like that. If you're not watchful, then they will get a solid hit in. I'm gonna fight him just a little bit more so that you can see a bit more of the deflecting. You really gotta be careful because one hit is the difference between life and death in this game. That's the real reason we fought him, was for for that pellet. Pellets are a very nice thing to have because it's an alternate method of healing other than just your healing gourd. The way I did that, by the way, was I was running and then jumped just right before he got to the ledge. Otherwise, you'd want to click square so that you hang there. The game then wants you to go up that way. I'll show you the basic thing that they want you to do there, is just to wall jump and then ledge hang. That will get you to a lot of different places that you wouldn't normally have access to. So learn that. But to make it go by quicker, we're going to go this way. You'll run, jump, wall jump, and then you'll be over here. When you are over here, that's your goal. So you'll come, jump on off the corner, and land right there. If you're a little bit short, that's okay. Just make sure you click square so that you ledge hang. That way you don't fall off the edge and die. You'll then go here, whistle. I'm skipping the cutscene. And then I'm also just going to walk on through, not even pay attention to Kuro. For this next fight, it's entirely useless to try and win, unless you want to feel really cool. There's no point to it. And so, honestly, just let him hit you and be done with it. I'm also going to skip this cutscene because you get to experience it for yourself. So yeah, make your life easy, don't bother fighting him, and we're done. You're supposed to lose this fight. So, I'll be skipping that. You lose your arm, then you wake up, and you have another arm. It's a Shinobi prosthetic, which has a grappling hook, and as you play through the game, you'll be getting many tools to be very helpful for you. He's the one that gave it to you. We're just gonna walk past him for now. Grab that item, because pellets are important. Currently, this is a pretty empty menu, but later this will be where we increase our vitality, our attack power, and gain skills, as well as purchasing some spirit emblems, which spirit emblems are how you use the Shinobi prosthetic. So the grappling hook, click L2 to use, and anytime there is a green circle, that's when you can use it. This will also come up against some specific enemies that you can use it on. Later on, you'll also gain a skill called the grappling hook attack, which is very nice for some of the later enemies. You can also travel amongst the sculptor's idols. So, but here we are with the next little section. I personally like to come up over this way. Take care of them. In order to acquire loot, you just click and hold square. And so, as I said, we'll be going over combat basics. And so, dodging, you just click O. However, something that I've noticed with this game is that it's actually better to run. Like, you'll start with the step dodge, but a lot of times the enemy is smart enough to follow you, and so if you run after you step dodge, then you can generally dodge a lot easier. So with this guy, we're going to practice a little more with deflecting. You'll notice his posture isn't building up much at all, but when you deflect, it builds up quite a bit. When you personally get deflected, 9 times out of 10, it is best to go straight into guard. We'll show that in a little bit with some enemies in just a bit. But just a basic rule of thumb, if you get deflected, which that's why it's important to notice the difference in sparks, is because then you will be able to hit them back when they try and do a counter slash. We'll see if this guy will do it for me. See that? So I got deflected. So you just instantly go right back into guard so that you don't get hit. All these enemies do a massive amount of damage to you, and so just don't do it. Once we're over here, another basic rule of thumb is when you're in the outside world, like away from bosses, you always want to take out the ranged enemies first, which is what we'll do right here. They are a great annoyance if you don't take them out first, so we'll practice a little more with this guy. Deflect, so you go into guard. You got deflected, you go into guard. Keep yourself safe. While this game is highly aggressive, it is also important to be defensive. So, having a back and forth with attacking and guarding is good to have. You'll notice how quickly you can go into the guard phase despite taking a little bit to attack. And so if you're ever unsure about whether or not an attack will go through, be sure to go into the deflect so that you don't get hurt. As I said, all enemies will do a lot of damage to you. If you're not going to go backwards, always rest. If you do go backwards, then don't, because then you don't have to fight people twice. So we're going to grapple hook over here, and to the left there is the shuriken wheel. We'll go back to the sculptor for that later, but for now we will continue forward. So there is your first mini-boss, the first real mini-boss I should say, outside of the tutorial. Once again, my purpose in these videos is to make your life easy, so we're going to do just that. Don't charge straight in. Instead, go this way. You'll hop up there, get yourself another item, which I'm going to equip the pellets into my quick items now, and we're going to continue over this way. Get behind him, and when you are crouched, you make less noise, and so you can get closer behind people and get your first death blow. So now this is where the perilous attacks come in. As I said at the beginning of the video, there will be 3 perilous attacks. The first one is a thrust, which currently the only way to avoid this one is to either run, because as I said, just doing the step dodge, you can't get away quick enough. So you either run, or you deflect. If you guard it, you will get hit regardless, and so you have to deflect it. The second one is a sweep, which for that you jump. When you jump, click X again, and you'll actually jump off of them, which then gives you a it builds up their posture a lot more than what you could have. And then another thing to note is that when you are in the air, you also can attack. And so jump to avoid the sweep, jump off of their heads to build up posture, and as you're coming back down, swing a little bit to protect yourself. The final one is their grabs. Pretty much, you just sprint or jump out of their range. There are a few that can still grab you even if you jump, so I recommend sprinting 9 times out of 10 with this. So, with that, we'll get into the fight. He does the 2 perilous attacks of thrusts and sweeps. There's a sweep. With this game, you'll also want to stay as close as you can to a lot of enemies. So as I said, focus a lot more on defense. That move that he was just about to do, it lets him regain his posture. Don't let him do it. That's why you stay close. So just kind of hit him when his posture is coming back. So I let him live, that way you can see a little bit more of the fight. And I'm also going to let him do that so you see what he does. Takes away a lot of his posture. So that's what happens when you get a little greedy, but if you're not, you have a healing board. Don't let him do it. You just kind of stay close, push the attack if you're comfortable with everything. So you just kind of watch for the perilous attacks, make the correct decision, and stay close. So always focus on his attacks to make sure that you don't get hit. And also, get that free death blow. Free death blows are always nice. So we're gonna now get to this next portion. There's quite a few enemies over here, and so we're gonna go the sneaky route. First, we're gonna go this way. Up top. And to that tree right there. These enemies are harder to deal with, so we'll take care of him first. And then the next enemy we're going to take care of is right down here. He's a big boy, so we're just going to sneak up on him and kill him before we have to deal with him in combat. Those big boys, we never want to fight them fairly, but I will teach you how to do so. Still avoid it if you can. And once again, as I said, rule of thumb, always go for the ranged enemies first. So we're going to take out him. And now we're going to try and take care of some of the other guys. There will be 3 coming up this way, but we got this ranged dude to deal with first. They don't do that often. That's kind of funny. They don't run off the edges very often, so that's a new one for me. So, I don't know if you heard that, but there's a little gong in the background. That just means that you are back into stealth mode, pretty much. As I said, you always want to fight them just one at a time. The game becomes a lot more difficult if you fight groups. And so, if you can, just kind of keep your space if you are fighting in groups, and just kind of tap and dip. That way you don't have to fight the multiple enemies. One more thing with the combat basics is if you hold R1, you do a stress attack. So the only way for them to guard against it is to deflect. In the top right corner, you just saw that I got a skill point. Currently, we don't have any use for that, but they are extremely important, especially the first skill that I'm going to have you get. And with that, we killed all the enemies. Just make sure you fight them one-on-one. Don't take the risks and fight all of them. Try and stay as stealthy as possible, and be sure to take out that big boy first. Down here, we've got this old lady, and she is the one that's going to take us to the memory. So we're going to talk to her.
I am not.
She gives you a bell. With that bell, that is how we are going to go into the memory. You can talk to this guy if you want. You don't really get anything for it, other than potential story. But again, I'm not going to really be going over story stuff. That's up for you to find out. So for the next item that we're going to be getting, we need some more money. We need 500 sen for it, and so we're going to come this way, which is actually where the shopkeeper is for us to get that item. So you just come from that building, go right there, look to your left, and grapple hook up. You can actually grapple hook all the way up, and you don't even have to take breaks like I did. And here is your first shopkeep.
To purchase an offer.
An offer?
Indeed, from the look. Go ahead.
The item we're going to go for is Robert's Firecrackers. You can also sell items here. The only things that are really worth money to sell are the Litecoin purses, so I recommend that you just keep your other stuff. So we're going to come over here, grapple hook to that building, and pick up that item. And then I'm kind of going to come down here. And again, you're going to go back to where that old lady is. Except you're going to go below this time, which will be right over here into this field. You're going to kill this giant chicken. Giant chickens are rude, just so you're aware. And right down here, you'll see some pots. Break those pots and come into this part. There'll be a couple more Litecoin purses for you, and those are each worth 100 sen. So now we have enough to get those firecrackers. So we'll get that, and then we will go to the memory. So once again, you walk down these stairs, look to the left, grapple hook, grapple hook, grapple hook.
Care to purchase?
So we have 200 sen. If you've just gone through and killed all the enemies just one time, you'll have 200. So you'll sell 3 of those to purchase Robert's Firecrackers. If you have extra sen, I do recommend to buy these Litecoin purses, because while it does cost you 10 extra sen, you do not lose those purses if you die, which is something that I haven't mentioned yet, is when you die, you lose half of everything that you've gained. That is skill points and sen. So try not to die. Obviously, you are going to die. This is a hard game, but try not to die when you're just about there with skill points and when you just barely got enough money. Play it safe. Use the money. Put it into the coin purses. Keep yourself sane so that you don't lose a bunch of stuff, and then don't go into boss fights when you have when you're just about to reach with that stuff. So use the money first before you can go into boss fights. So now, as I said earlier, this is where you'll be using your vitality. When you gain 4 prayer beads, you'll be able to increase your health and posture. So we're going to travel to the dilapidated temple. And when you get to the temple, you'll come right over here and talk to the sculptor.
What? You're out there too. You too. What seems your
So if you talk to him after you take care of that, then you come over here, and he'll give you the esoteric text, which is how you gain skills and what you use the skill points for.
What? Shinobi record. Whether you shinobi.
Talk to him again.
I found one.
A shinobi.
Yes.
I said, but thick shield fitting more if there's. That's all. The more ice, give it here.
You'll present the shinobi prosthetic, so then you can get the loaded shuriken and the shinobi firecracker. Last thing we're going to do is we're going to talk to Emma and equip those
the power of the
shinobi tools.
Who are you?
I
What?
forget how to. I'm not.
Emma is best girl.
The
We
gourd
love her
I am
because you present your
yeah,
healing
I
gourd,
even
Yeah.
bring. Yeah,
you give her gourd seeds, and you let yourself heal more.
Is this
Yeah, let her. Now the.
such a...
Is it? If it's a that's
Nice.
please. Oh,
It was probably... I was told...
does the if it he
As I said, the spirit emblems are how you use the shinobi tools, but we'll now take this moment to equip those prosthetic tools. And so, right up there, you'll just click X on it. Pretty much you'll always want the shuriken, so I always keep that in the first slot, and then the shinobi firecracker we'll put in there. Make sure to read the description, because the firecrackers are particularly potent against beast-type enemies, such as horses, or a bull, or even a monkey, perhaps. And so, just read the descriptions, make sure that you know when it's effective to use these things. And so, from here, we'll be going into the memory. But that's it for part 1. I hope that was helpful as a walkthrough to figure out where to go and basics for fighting. Once again, that's it. So that's it for part 1.